What is capitalism? Capitalism, by definition, is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit. And capitalism begins somewhere in the 18th century of Europe when the Industrial Revolution 1.0 took place by changing the country's trade and industry control from the state to private owners, thus leading to a population growth and urbanization. America is the country with the highest level of capitalism globally, and with 27 million private companies in the States, it contributes to about 46% of the GDP of the United States. And in the 27 million companies, about 20% operates in the tourism sector, netting a surplus of $53 billion in revenue for the year 2016 alone. By far, the tourism sector is one of the biggest job providers in the state as it employs close to 7 million individuals in that industry. However, in the year 2019, when COVID hits, it reduced the world population by approximately 69 million people and prevented human activities such as leisure, entertainment, and travel all the way until 2022 when the epidemic is more under control. Thus, we believe that capitalism in America will decline and we are here to find out together. In the late 2019, a flu-like disease outbreak started at the epicenter of Wuhan, China, quickly spread to the whole world, causing chaos to the society, isolating countries from one another, and stalling economic activity altogether. Well, unless you have been living under a rock, yes, I'm referring to COVID-19. Every country was affected by it, and America is not immune to it in any way. Today, we will be looking at the economic impact of COVID-19 on America, primarily focusing on the tourism sector and what have the Americans done to recover the tourism sector. In this video, we will analyze the decline of tourism value in the US during COVID-19, and then we will analyze the effort of the US in recovering its tourism, and finally, we will also analyze the increase of tourism value in the US after COVID-19.
So for tourism value in US before COVID-19, so if we check in US Travel Association, travel and tourism contribute $1.1 trillion to US GPD in 2019. Is to representing a substantial portion of the national economy. So how the tourism value in US during COVID-19? So if we check the data demonstrate there are 19% decline in the GPD of the US during the COVID-19 pandemic within the tourism sector, which is this they found in United Nations World Tourism Organization in 2022. So if we can see the tourism value in US before COVID-19, the industry support 9.5 million job in 2019. This number can see which include a wide range of sector from accommodation and food services to transportation and entertainment. So this related to the tourism where tourism contribute for these services. The tourism industry in US during COVID-19 faced a substantial job losses to their people. So by the end of 2020, nearly 10% of the tourism job loss in US, which we can check in the United Nations World Tourism Organization in 2022.
Welcome to our presentation on the US tourism sector before the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2019, the United States was a thriving hub for international tourism, welcoming nearly 80 million visitors from around the world. These visitors collectively spent approximately $239 billion, significantly contributing to the US economy. This substantial economic input underscores the important role of international tourism as a major economic driver. This data from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development (OECD) in 2020 highlights the robust health of the tourism sector pre-pandemic. Moving on to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, the landscape of global travel changed drastically. The United States saw a dramatic drop in international visitors, with numbers declining by over 75% compared to the previous year. This decline was a direct result of international travel restrictions and widespread uncertainty, leading to one of the most challenging years for tourism worldwide. These figures, sourced from the OECD, paint a stark contrast to the bursting activity seen in 2019. Let's take a look at domestic level within the US before the pandemic. In 2019, domestic travelers, encompassing both leisure and business purposes, spent a staggering about $972 billion. We can note that leisure level made up the majority of this spending, highlighting its significant contribution to the overall economic activity within the country. This data from the World Economic Forum in 2022 demonstrates the powerful economic engine driven by domestic tourism. In addition to high spending volumes, the US tourism sector also generated a trade surplus of $53 billion in 2019. This means that the spending by international visitors in the US far exceeded what Americans spend on international travel. Such a surplus reflects the US' strong appeal as a global destination and its capacity to attract substantial foreign spending, as reported by the World Economic Forum in 2022. In response to the pandemic, the US implemented stringent travel restrictions and lockdown measures, resulting in a significant economic impact on the tourism sector. In 2020, the total spending on travel within the US by both domestic and international visitors dropped by 42% compared to the previous year. This number, reported by the US Travel Associations, highlight the dramatic downturn and underscore the critical challenge faced by the sector during the pandemic.
So we are going to discuss about tourism recovery in US during COVID-19. Government of US passed in March 2020 allocated approximately $377 billion in loans and grants to small business, including those in the tourism sector. This support was critical in preventing widespread closures and layoffs in the industry, and this is referred to United Nations World Tourism Organization in 2022. And revert to Tourism and Hospitality Journal, passed in March 2021, government of US included $1.25 billion for the Shuttered Venue Operators Grants programs aimed at existing venues like theaters and concert halls is crucial for tourism. By middle 2021, the US had administered over 300 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines, a vital step in restoring traveler confidence and reviving tourism. This statement is referred to United Nations World Tourism Organization in 2022. Revert to Tourism and Hospitality Journal in 2022. The government promoted visits to the national parks and outdoor recreation as several alternatives, with the National Park Service reporting over 237 million visits in 2021 despite the pandemic. Revert to United Nations World Tourism Organization in 2022. In November 2021, the US lifted travel restrictions for fully vaccinated international travelers from over 30 countries, marking a significant step towards the recovery of international tourism.
In this part, you will know about the tourism value in US after COVID-19. Based on GDP value in US in 2022, the data demonstrate a 3% increase in GDP of United States in 2022 compared to 2021. Based on data from Tourism and Hospitality Journal 2022, The industry faced substantial job increases. By the end of 2022, nearly 5% of tourism jobs increased in the US. Based on data from US Travel Association 2022, the data indicates a recovery in international tourist arrival to the United States, with a 10% increase in visits in 2022 compared to the previous year. Tourism and Hospitality Journal 2022 also state that tourism industry saw a like increase in 2022. The US Travel Association reported that total spending on travel in US by both domestic and international visitors increased by 8% in 2022 compared to 2021. The conclusion of this study are: first, travel and tourism contribute 1.1 trillion US dollar to the US GDP in 2019. The data demonstrate a 19% decline in the GDP of the United States during the COVID-19 pandemic within the tourism sector. The second conclusion is government of US passed in March 2020 allocated 377 billion US dollar in loans and grants to small business, including those in the tourism sector. The third conclusion is the data demonstrate a 3% increase in the GDP of United States in 2022 compared to 2021.